Hi everybody, welcome again to another episode of CLIC, Capital Lighting's interactive content program. We are thrilled today to be joined by Piper Gonzalez of Piper Gonzalez Designs. She's going to be talking to us about the 4 simple steps about designing your dream space in your home, the Piper Perfect Puzzle Piece process. And if you can say that 5 times fast, you can be our next guest on CLIC. Stay tuned.
Kids, your mother and I have something very important to tell you.
Right.
Well, I guess the thing is, see...
Well, what your father's trying to say is, well, you're adopted. Who's up for Jenga?
It's on. The Capital Lighting Sale. Largest selection, lowest price.
CLIC.
Piper, it is so great to have you on CLIC. We appreciate you coming down and talking to us. Tell us a little bit about Piper. How'd you find yourself in South Florida? How long have you been here?
I have been here, I went to high school here, moved away for college, started a family, and then moved back late 90s.
Late 90s. Okay, so, and you had your own company, Piper Gonzalez Designs. You work with mostly clients in Palm Beach County, but also looks like up and down the East Coast. You're in demand.
I am.
They're flying you, they send their jet, they helicopter you
On a good day, yeah.
All right, well that's great. I appreciate, Piper, you did a blog post for us on, if I can say this right, Piper's Perfect Puzzle Piece Process to Home Design.
Pretty good.
I made that up. But it is a theory that you've used since you've been in business to design a room.
Right.
And there are, as you said, 4 corners of your process. Take us through how you can design your space. What's one of the pillars of the Piper process?
The Piper process.
Yes.
Well, I would say that you can start in one of 4 areas, and depending on the space, I obviously have my tendencies, and I tend to lean towards finding some type of inspiration. But as an overview, inspiration, functionality, a focal point, and then a color palette. So if you start with one of those and then get the other 3 down, the rest sort of fills itself in. So I typically start with inspiration.
Okay.
So for example, I could find a fabric that I love, but it can also be something that isn't even in the space. So if a client comes to me with a picture that she took from a drapery treatment when she was in New York, staying at the Plaza, and she loved this treatment, and we sort of built the space focusing on that aspect and building from there. It can be a specific item, so an ashtray or a piece of art that was handed down that they love. It could be...
So you would design the room, or the inspiration for the room could be really anything.
Absolutely.
It could be a color, it could be an object, could it even be a feeling that this is what they want to evoke?
Exactly what it is that
feeling.
piece then translates into the feeling.
Great.
So I mean, a lot of times I even say to a client, oh, just snap a picture. If you see something in a magazine, it doesn't have to be of a space at all. If it is a space, it doesn't have to be the same space we're working on. And then from there, we just transform the actual space that they need into that.
So whether it's a feeling of freedom, or if it's a feeling of comfort, or whatever they're trying to evoke when they go into that space, that'll be one of the pillars. And then the function of the room obviously is important. That's what you said.
And sometimes it's probably my least favorite place to start, because it's the least creative. And ideally we can take any inspiration and then create functionality into that space. But this morning I was at a client's, and storage, we're dealing with a master bedroom. Storage is a huge issue. So in her space, there is nowhere else to start but function. We have to create as much storage space out of her existing footprint as possible.
Why doesn't she just use her basement? We're in South Florida. There is no basements, unfortunately.
Yes.
Right.
So function, and that space plan, lighting plan, taking account of the pieces that you need in the room in order to make it functional. If it's a bedroom, what storage pieces? Do you need a workspace? How much sleeping space do you need? Sometimes it's more important than others. We do a lot of formal spaces aren't used as much.
Right.
So they're just
the function,
made to look good. Function becomes a little more, on the back burner.
Okay, great. So, and like you said, if it's not a formal space, it might be called the living room, but you might be using it for anything. It might become the pool table room.
Right. Well, and we see that as a trend. More and more formal spaces are becoming more livable. So,
Well, you
which
need
is a
the
good
space.
thing. Yeah.
Space is becoming more expensive. You want to actually use
it.
right?
Exactly.
And then you talked about color, or the color palette being
Right.
another corner.
Right. And a lot of times that's taken from your inspiration. You know, they're directly related. It's probably the most literal translation from the inspiration piece on. It could be again, a large piece of artwork. You could pull colors from that if there's an existing piece of artwork. I tend to start with textiles. It's my favorite part of it. So that leans towards my inspiration piece as well. If I'm lost for a space, I head to the showroom and walk around until I find one fabric that I love, and then build off of that, and that builds the color palette. But if you've got an inspiration, so you know the feeling that you're looking for, and you know the functionality of it, the color palette or textiles that are going to become part, wall coverings, fabrics, rugs.
Okay, so far, even though there are four corners, they're all tying together for the overall theme. And then
Right.
the fourth focal point is the focal point.
Correct.
And that's oftentimes when you'll come see us.
Yes.
Because that could be the chandelier in the
Very
center
well
of the
could
room.
be.
So,
Or great lighting. We're doing a lot of pendants over nightstands if you're talking about a bedroom, or chandelier in the middle of a dining room, or there's multiple ways to bring lighting in as a focal point. It doesn't have to be lighting, although
Sure.
it often is. It could be simply a view. If you're trying to showcase a view, we do a lot of homes on the water. So if we're trying to showcase a view out to the water, or a landscape, basically looking at the space and saying, this is how I want my eye to travel around the space, and this is where I want it to stop, and how am I going to make my someone's eye stop at that spot.
So that ties it all together. The scene, right? You're going to build the scene, and in every scene there's going to be the focal point.
Right.
You just don't want it to be a sea of anything. You want it to be a story.
Right.
Or
and
evoke a
truthfully,
feeling.
there can be more than one focal point, but it's places that you have made a decision to make your eye stop.
So those are kind of your four corners, your four pillars of the inspiration, the functionality of the space, the color palette involving the textiles or I guess paint or whatever
Wallpaper's
those.
big
Right.
now.
And then the focal point to stop your eye and complete the story.
Right.
And then once you have those four, like you said, it was a
It's
puzzle.
like puzzle pieces, because as you can see even from us talking, so many of them bridge together.
Sure.
So, by the time you're finished with those four, you really have filled in a lot of the gaps on the edge, and then it's just, praying for
Moving
no
all-
back orders, and
all-
everything comes out, and voila, you have a beautiful room.
I know you're going to bring all your talents to bear at the show house that you're involved in, the Red Cross show
I am.
house. And you got involved with that show house having to do with one of the pillars, correct? It was where did you get started with that?
Well, again, like I said, crossing fabrics and inspiration. I was visiting the Robert Allen Beacon Hill showroom in New York, and looking at some of their upcoming palettes, and they had a fantastic palette that I wanted a place to use, and show house is a great place to do a carte blanche.
Okay.
So
And,
I'm excited to get to do
and
that.
that actually opens in February?
I believe it's open to the public February 20th
Okay.
through March 22nd, I believe.
All right, well, that sounds so exciting. Thank you so much. This was a great education on finding the perfect pieces of the puzzle in the Piper process of design.
Tongue twister, appreciate
yes, but
that.
it works out and it makes sense. And again, you were great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.